Welcome to another episode of Under the Vegas Sun. I'm your host, Joe Amato, and today we're at Notoriety at the Fremont Street Experience, and we're here to basically interview the members of Renaissance Rock Orchestra, especially their main member, Gregg Fox, and it's just going to be an amazing episode compared to anything we've done. Why? Because my heart is rock and roll, and this episode is all about rock and roll. Welcome to another episode of Under the Vegas Sun. I'm your host, Joe Amato, and why am I wearing sunglasses? Why? Because it's the coolest thing I'm doing since I've been on Under the Vegas Sun.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I'm coming from deep down in my heart, rock and roll.
Rock and roll, baby.
Something that I knew in the 80s, I knew it well, and I've had the extreme pleasure today of sitting with Gregg Fox of Renaissance Rock Orchestra, and Steve Rosen, and Mike Rosen, no relation. What an opportunity this is, guys. I'm just,
it's great
I'm
to be
over
here
the
with
moon. You know my rock and roll roots yourselves.
I love that.
From the conversation we've had prior. And we've really looked forward to this opportunity from when COVID was going to end enough that you could actually be the Renaissance you are.
Nice, yes. So, we're very excited about it too. It's going to be an exciting night.
Yes, it's an exciting night. And where are we? Explain where we are right now.
We are at Notoriety Live on Fremont Street in the old Neonopolis, so it has a really great history to it, and this is one of the new upcoming clubs that there is on Fremont Street, and we're just really proud to be representing the city here at Notoriety Live, and it's a beautiful room. I highly recommend everybody come out and see a show here. They have a lot of great shows, but tonight it will be the Renaissance Rock Orchestra, won't it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that has been sort of your brainchild over how long?
Absolutely. You know, probably close to 10 years now. Yeah. When I first moved to Las Vegas is when, even before that, I was in Venice Beach, California. And I would have my buddy Mikey Bones, my bass player, and kind of my co-conspirator in the original Renaissance Rock Orchestra, come over to Venice Beach. And we were writing songs that we will be playing tonight. Yeah, and recording those songs 10 years ago. And at some point around 2011, Mikey said, you know, you got to move to Vegas. We need to put a show together. And everything was happening in Las Vegas at the time. It still is, but it was the perfect time for me to come to Las Vegas because all of the rockers, all the 80s rockers, 90s rockers, it was becoming a little bit of a boneyard for the classic rock society, right?
Boneyard.
So, yeah, and it was perfect. I came to Las Vegas, and it was, within 3 months, I was playing for Miley Cyrus at the Academy of Country Music Awards, which was a great thing. Probably be my biggest show that I ever play in front of 36 million people nationwide.
Yeah, well, you know, we're going to be streaming live tonight, so you never know.
Hey, that's a good point.
You never know.
Good point.
So your specialty is not drums, it's not guitar, but it is?
Keyboards.
Yes. The Renaissance of Rick Wakeman and all those before you, correct?
Yes. Those are, all my heroes. Keith Emerson,
all the great,
absolutely.
classic.
You know, somebody tonight while we were doing our rehearsal said, it was Alex, our sound guy. He said something about how Keith Emerson's going to be here tonight. You better make sure you're on. I'm going, well, I'm sure Keith will be here in spirit. And I said, Alex, every single time I play, I pretend Keith is in the room. That's the way I want to play always, like Keith is watching.
But Gregg has a kick when he performs, so that's more the...
Yes, and I got that from Steve Walsh from Kansas. That's where the kick originally came from.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let me introduce these two handsome gentlemen to your stage right. Steve, we've now talked for...
Steve Rosen.
Yep.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, everyone.
And your role with this whole menagerie
again,
is?
we are behind the scenes, so to speak. more or less we call ourselves the business side, I guess, and
Absolutely.
we pretty much orchestrate things that happen outside of the creative mode. And like something, for instance, tonight, here we are, we have the shoot and we have the performance. So, of course, myself, I got very involved with that, in contact with Joe and with Carl, who's the amazing producer here at Vegas Live. And so we have a lot to do with everything that happens outside of that performance, more
And
or less.
that's with Mike,
Or-
no relation, Rosen?
Absolutely with Mike as my equal partner here.
But one day, I'm sitting at home. I work with a lot of great bands. Kansas is one of them. You just mentioned Steve Walsh, their great
Yeah.
keyboard player. And I'm sitting
Yes.
at home and I get a phone call from this gentleman, this handsome fellow, this guy right here. And he strikes up a conversation with me about possibly...
Well, I'm on a tour bus at the
Yeah.
time. You have to
Right.
add that part.
Okay, on a tour bus. So it was
I was with Louis Prima
it was
Jr. and the
Louis
Witnesses.
Prima Jr. and
Yeah.
he's pitching me on managing this thing, this concept
That
called
was
Renaissance
perfect.
Rock Orchestra. And then he sent me some records, and it started really sounding great. And the first thing I did, the very first thing I did, after I said yes, was bring in Steven Rosen, who's
True.
a tremendous genius that I love. like
Great
a brother.
move.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, now, and
don't know
now
what
that
to say.
Joe Amato's with us, dude, we love you.
Hey, it's the triumvirate, you know?
That's right.
So
Yes.
we want Renaissance Rock Orchestra to become every bit as big as Asia and Todd Rundgren and Kansas and all the great acts.
Trans-Siberian.
Trans-Siberian
You
Orchestra.
know, I'm
Some
talking
of
about
them
guys
are-
that I
Yeah.
repped,
Yeah.
but nonetheless,
Sure.
we're so hopeful, and Gregg has done so much, and it's been so great. We're just very thankful. Thank you all.
And you're dealing with
Excited.
pedigree. You know, me coming
Absolutely.
from the music business myself back in the 80s.
Absolutely.
And becoming a retired ex-rocker. As you can see, we have clean cut rocker, clean cut rocker. So we orchestrated this well. You know, understanding the mechanisms more than anything. And when I met Gregg, you know, you and I basically sort of were kindred spirits immediately.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, the pedigree, when I saw you guys play at, it was at
That was
Counts.
Counts,
At Vamped,
off the
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where the acoustics isn't that great.
Sure.
And the sound and could be overwhelming, but
True.
I was
Yeah.
blown away. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed
Nice.
what I
Good.
saw. And, you know, from then going through COVID and trying to figure out ways that we could work together, you know,
Yes.
it was obviously opportunity after opportunity. So, okay, you are one of many players. And my understanding is Renaissance Rock Orchestra a series of moving parts?
It absolutely is a revolving door of artists that are well known and beloved in the industry. We have players from every band you can imagine, from AC/DC, Whitesnake, Foreigner, Guns N' Roses. Our last
The Firm.
album,
Billy
The
Idol.
Firm,
Yeah,
tonight,
let's not
tonight, The
forget.
Firm and
The Firm.
Whitesnake.
Was the original member who, at one point, I believe in the 80s, had a #1 hit on Billboard with Jimmy Page,
Right.
Tony Franklin.
Radioactive
It's just
was
a-
the song.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
It's
blessing.
an honor to be on this stage.
Having
with
him
Tony.
here tonight. And that is a revolving door. So the supergroup mentality kind of falls into, you know, we'll have this particular evening with these gentlemen.
Yeah.
There's a possibility some of that might change along as we, you know, prepare for other performances or events. So that's the beauty of it, and Gregg
Yes.
has made those relationships
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
over the years.
Well,
So-
and success of the band will breed more camaraderie, more
Absolutely. Right,
opportunity,
yeah.
and,
Right.
and
What-
more probably more of a permanent.
Sure, sure. Well, you know, my concept has always still been that revolving door of guest star artists. The bigger, the better. And you know, I know that we're going to have some amazing names that are going to be performing with this band as we continue on with doing shows in Las Vegas and do
You
a
gonna
residency
name drop
here.
a little? Drop a few.
Well, you know, I'd love to see Robin Zander come and do a show with us, but we know also for a fact that Bumblefoot, the Guns N' Roses guitar
Guitarist,
player who was on
yeah.
our last album, will certainly most likely come and do a show with us, along with our arranger and kind of co-composer Michael James Romeo from Symphony X.
Yeah, one of my
and,
guys. He's
and that's,
great.
you know,
Love him.
one of our concepts, and that I would have to say Mike Rosen, when I say this, has been the concept of having two of the finest and best virtuoso guitar players in the world come together live.
what I want.
Something
I want
that
that.
has, yeah, exactly. Something that has really never quite happened. Yeah, we've had the G4 tours and tours like that, but to actually have two of the finest best guitar players in the world on stage at the same time, and to co-write together and to be in the studio together recording albums.
Mike is very interested in writing with you.
Yes.
You know what? There was nothing like when I was younger to see bands that were really fully orchestrated.
Yeah.
Everyone from ELO
Yes.
to, believe it or not, I thought one of the best orchestrated bands out there was a three-member band out of Canada, if you remember, called Rush.
Called Rush, of course.
Where
What
they
other
use
three-member band is there?
orchestration where you know, you used to see Geddy Lee with the foot
It's
pedals
insane.
and this and that
Amazing.
because
All of
he
it.
wanted that full sound. And,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
understand that that's really what's always been your dream, not only as a
Absolutely,
keyboard
completely.
player,
Yeah.
but as sort of the creator of the band, that,
Yep.
that you wanted that fuller sound.
Very much so. You know, when I was as a kid, I played violin in the orchestra, and I always was fascinated and drawn to that symphonic sound, the
Right.
orchestra. So
Right.
I've always written songs to have that. And my dream is that we will have one of the shows in Las Vegas that will be one of the biggest orchestra permanent residency shows here in Las Vegas,
And you-
with a full orchestra.
And you're mentioning a word, and we're going to go to break in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to put my glasses back on. But
yeah, baby. Yeah.
but I'm not going to take out the leathers tonight. But
Oh man,
I don't know where
we
they are.
missed out on that. No,
The
yeah.
little piano cast tonight, so please get a close up.
I don't know where they are anymore.
Cases of
I do know
change.
where the spandex tops are, though. But no, we're going to talk a little bit about the Hint of Residency and opportunities that are coming up
Absolutely.
after this break.
sounds good.
So right now we're going to take a short break and go to our sponsors. This is Under the Vegas Sun with your host Joseph Amato, sitting in with some of the coolest guys I've ever interviewed. So
These
hold on
guys.
to your hats. We'll be right back. Welcome back from our break, Under the Vegas Sun. I'm your host, Joseph Amato, and again, I'm in heaven. I'm talking to Greg, Steve, and Mike. We're all
Thank you, Joe.
rock-orientated people, some deeper, some never grew up, and you know. But again,
I love that about me. I love that about me.
but again, you're still not the octogenarian like some of the people like the Rolling Stones that are still playing out there.
Absolutely.
So you at least have 20 years or 30 years left, right?
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
So
He's good.
let's get serious for a second, because I want to. One of the things that we're trying to do with our audience is really get a sense of what has occurred the last year. How did this whole insanity with COVID? How did it affect first you, Greg,
Yeah.
and where you were at? And I mean, when we were talking, when this all began, when we first met, COVID wasn't even started yet.
Of course, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it hit us. So, you know, what's happened
Yes.
the last 15, 16 months with you?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty tough. I mean, it's been tough for all of the musicians in Las Vegas. We've been struggling, and many of them have had to leave Las Vegas. It's been a horrifying thing for the entire entertainment business here. And right before COVID, we were on the verge of some very big things. You know, multi-million-dollar investors and a lot of very exciting things that we were very, very close to. So that, of course, went with the wind when COVID landed on all of us. But yeah, it was excruciatingly difficult to try to survive through COVID as a working artist that performs regularly in Las Vegas. I was very close to having to leave the city myself, but I've always felt, you know, a love for the city and a bond with the musical community here. And I really just hated to see that happen. And I've had this dream and this vision of what Renaissance Rock Orchestra was going to be. And I've seen it develop and grow. You know, when I first moved to Las Vegas and I started doing the Rock Gods Hall of Fame shows and playing with Miley Cyrus and playing and raiding the Rock Vault and meeting all of these classic artists from bands like Heart, and well, it just goes on and on. The Moby Dicks, absolutely, where we have bass players from Ozzy and drummers from Whitesnake and Foreigner.
So did you just get into a creative shell? Did you stream? What did you end up doing?
I did what most artists do, most creative artists.
Right.
I started writing. And you know, it's what I've done since I was in junior high school, when I was a nerd in orchestra and I couldn't get any girls to pay attention to me. I went home and I practiced piano, and that was where I got my inspiration, and I wrote songs, you know. And of course, as we
Great
all
songs.
know,
A couple of great. There's some great songs.
So,
that you
so
wrote.
Steve, when COVID hit, what'd you end up doing? I mean, you were representing bands, you were doing other things as well. What
Yes, I started through my career, which, you know, spans over 30 years. I started a label, I want to call it more of a digital label, back in 2006, which at that time wasn't that sexy to do something online, strictly online. I acquired, up until today, I've acquired thousands of masters that I control and own with a partner. And basically, at the time, built compilations, geared a lot of this to thematic and type events and parties and all kinds of related things, holidays. And I thought it was a niche at the time for me to just build these kind of projects, to find people who are just looking for things that they could be on any given day, need a particular kind of music that would enlighten them, or could be for their family, anything, really, any kind of occasion. So I built it into a nice little business. Universal approached me, Universal Records, about 10 years ago. They were looking for like a budget type line that they wanted to go after Target, Walmart, and various big box type companies. And I
Nice.
became that supplier.
nice.
That's great. And Michael, what
Yeah.
did you end up
So,
doing this last
at that
16
time.
months?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I feel very blessed in a lot of ways that I have my own company that I represent film and television composers. So some of them didn't have work, and some of them did. Some of the work continued, and that. But I also have two other partnerships. One with a Marvel executive named Todd Erickson, and the ex-president of Universal Pictures, president of production and post-production, Donna Smith, and we started writing a film, which we were able to raise $100,000 just to get the script going, and now it's looking like it's going to be financed, so please knock on wood on that deal.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's a science fiction
Yeah.
movie, so there's that. And then I also got involved with a genius from the Las Vegas area named Tolga Kadis, who is a very well-known videographer and programming genius, who he is creating, I can't really say what, but something very, very valuable, and I'm a partner in that. So I stepped away from music for a minute and into these other areas.
So you guys weren't left high and dry. You found avenues that you could work. And
We
that
all
you
kept
could stay
working, no
creative.
doubt about that.
We were a little high
I
and
think
dry.
it all, in the entertainment world, yes,
Yeah.
it's pretty much
Yeah.
was working, but I think on the live business became more or less non-existent.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
not.
And then, and that's really the bread and butter for performers who
Sure.
want to go out every day. And of course, you know, you could sit back, you could write, you can compose, you can, you know, make your music and all that. But you really have to have these people hear you, and that's where we felt,
Yeah.
you know, what are we going to do? A lot of people, like Greg said, had not the fortunate means of just being musicians every day.
It
and
was
had to
rough.
do other things
It was rough.
to survive.
So, okay, quick question.
Yes.
To all three of you, one at a time,
Yes.
and you don't mind if you date yourself,
Huh?
and you can't say Renaissance Rock Orchestra. What's your favorite live performance you've ever seen?
Oh,
Mike
yes.
starts.
Favorite live performance I ever saw was The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, 1975, Shrine Auditorium, Los Angeles. Peter Gabriel's great swan song
Amazing.
with that great band.
Super.
That was my
Yes.
favorite.
Nice. Nice.
Well, there's quite a few.
Well,
Coming
yeah.
from, as a promoter, I did put on quite a few shows in my day. But as a young person, I would say the Allman Brothers Band at the Fillmore East.
Nice.
Wow.
Excellent. Wow,
Oh,
that's
that's a
big.
good one.
That
That
was-
is a good
big.
one.
I don't know what else to say. To this day, I'm still tickled to know that I was in that room as a young person.
Unbelievable.
But,
Amazing.
It was one of a kind.
Greg?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, being a prog rock lover,
Right.
there's been so many shows, it's really hard to pick that one. I remember great Yes concerts. I'm a huge Yes fan. That was probably my favorite music. Kansas would be included in that list of some of my best shows. But strangely enough, probably my favorite was Ian Anderson with Jethro Tull.
Oh, yeah.
Thick as a brick.
Passion Play and Thick as a
Amazing.
Brick.
Passion Play was great too.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right,
Those
I
were
will
brilliant
tell you
concerts.
mine.
Okay.
Can't wait.
I happen to have a relative that was president of his record company, and I went down to Philadelphia to the Tower Theater in the 70s, Are you getting an idea
Oh,
who it
yeah.
might
Okay,
be? Let's
okay.
see. David Bowie.
Oh,
Oh, my
nice.
God.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
saw Bowie. I saw Bowie
Wow.
play keyboards with
So
Iggy Pop.
which tour was that?
I don't know. I
Which
was,
tour
I
would
was
that
a
be in the
child. I
70s
was
with
a
David?
teenager.
That is with
Probably.
with
It was his
The-
David
the two
live
brothers,
album.
The two brothers, Tony and
no. This was with Mick on guitar.
Mick Ronson.
Mick Ronson on
Oh
guitar.
yes,
It
right.
was his David live album.
Who-
They filmed. They basically taped the album.
Yeah,
That
Nick
that was
Ronson
with
of
Mick
all
Ronson,
things.
most
Mick
likely.
Ronson, yes.
Yeah, but the two brothers were
No,
basically.
it was the 80s.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
those are the
That was
80s.
with Tony and,
Right.
yeah, that was 80s.
Say, say what happens when
Nice
rockers
job.
get around.
So
And
let's
we're not
see.
even drinking beer and eating pretzels, and
Yeah.
we're having these conversations.
So David Bowie, Jethro Tull, Allman Brothers, and Genesis. Yeah.
And
Lamb
all,
House
I mean,
Band.
and all
Wow,
four of them
boy,
are
what a
amazing.
great selection of concerts
Although
we
I
just
So-
talked
picked
about there.
others.
So let's talk about RRO again.
Yes.
Conceptually, you woke up one morning and this is what you were thinking. Evolved, maybe. What did you start? And where did it end up?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
can I start for 1 second?
Certainly.
Yes.
One of the things that makes RRO is Gregg's ability to orchestrate.
Oh.
He's very skilled. And so start there. And
Thank you. Well,
Yeah,
and of course
yeah.
that started with those symphonic roots in school, playing violin, et cetera, et cetera. But back in the 80s in Seattle, I had an original band called Icarus. And we built our own studio, and we wanted to be Queen, and we wanted to be this, and we wrote a lot of things like that, but we just didn't have the skills yet. But we were trying to come up with a tag name, kind of a theme for what this band is. And so it was Renaissance Rock. And that was my idea at the time, back in the 80s. And the band was actually Icarus. That's what it was, Icarus, yes. But so I took that concept because I knew I owned it. And I came to Las Vegas and started seeing Trans-Siberian Orchestra shows. And I was going, you know, I could do that. I love that. Let's take out the Christmas and let's add rock stars.
Yes.
Right, so that was kind of my formula. Take out the Christmas, add rock stars, have it be this classical metal thing, Renaissance Rock Orchestra. There we are, yeah.
And look at that logo.
Yeah. No, it's
Exactly,
amazing.
yeah. And this is the album that I wrote during COVID, and I actually tried to write songs that would help inspire people and try to give them hope through all the loss and the pain and the grief of the loss of life.
Especially the just to interrupt for a second, the feedback because of the caption of Song of Hope has been unbelievable during that year, of course, 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
And you could see all this feedback that we get on our YouTube channel.
The
which is
title
just
track,
countless.
the title track,
Yeah,
A
it's
Song
just
of Hope.
brilliant. It's
yeah,
brilliant.
I
Are you-
get comments from
Is there
people
any
all around the
possibility
world.
that's going to be played tonight?
We're not going to play A Song of Hope, but we're going to play the first release off that
Oh,
record.
great.
Which is called
Great.
In My Loving Arms. That'll be
Great.
played
An
tonight.
absolutely
Yeah.
great
You know,
song.
Which is a
Yeah.
brilliant track.
The
Brilliant.
saddest
Yeah.
moment for me at the end of an interview is ending an interview like this that could go on for
Where
3
you're having
hours.
so much fun, right?
Where you
Yeah.
can go out for hours.
Yes.
So I want to basically just thank you, Greg, Steve, Mike,
Well, thank
for,
you,
for
Joe.
sharing yourself,
Thank you,
sharing
Joe.
your time.
Thank you.
You know, our audience is really going to get something out of this, and I
Awesome.
bet you every one of them are going to know or remember every one of our favorite concerts in one way or
Yes,
another.
right. Yes.
And if they're too
Absolutely.
young to know, they better buy that album. because
That's right.
they
This
definitely
is
will.
it right here.
Yes.
Renaissance Rock Orchestra, A Song of Hope.
So we look forward to tonight.
Thank you.
I look forward to the show. It's going to be, I think it's going to be not only amazing for this city to see what's happening, but I think it's going to be the introduction of RRO really to the city.
Exactly.
And then when you get that future residency, I think it's going to be something where not only the city, but tourists alike will all embrace what you're doing.
Very much so.
Thank you so much for the
Thank
time.
you, Joe. I
I
appreciate it. Yeah,
it.
it's a great time, great
Joe,
time, great
thank you.
time.
No, absolutely.
Pleasure.
Very
And-
much, Joe.
Thank you, everyone.
So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there in the audience that is seeing this is something that you would never, ever, ever get a chance to see. Sit with a live rock star and the people behind the scenes. So, again, this has been an amazing
Joe.
episode.
That was fun.
I'm Joseph Amato. This is Under the Vegas Sun. Until next time.
Bye.
Didn't I tell you this would be an amazing episode? What a time that I had. Under the Vegas sun, here we are at Club Notoriety on Fremont Street at the Fremont Street Experience with Renaissance Rock Orchestra, Gregg Fox, the people behind the scenes. It was an amazing episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm your host, Joseph Amato. This is Under the Vegas Sun, and we will talk to you soon.